All right, guys, welcome to section 2 of chapter 3. In this section, we are going to talk about business entity structures, okay? A disclaimer again, I am not an attorney or a CPA. I cannot give you advice on any type of decisions that have to do with legal or tax law, okay? I can only share my personal experiences and those of others that I've worked with. Always consult your CPA or an attorney when making business decisions, okay? Now that we've got that done and over with, let's go ahead and jump right into the different types of entity structures, okay? A lot of people have heard of these terms, but a lot of people don't understand how they work. So we're going to dive right in each one and talk about each one and so that you guys can understand which one is going to be best for your situation, okay? So let me go ahead and I'm going to jump into my drawing board because it'll make a lot more sense if I just draw this for you guys, okay? Okay, so let me get this off there. And let's talk about the first entity structure type, okay? There are a lot of different entities that you can build, you can create, but I'm just gonna talk about the 4 that are gonna be important for us right now and for our purposes right now. Some of these are going to apply to you, some of them won't. The first one I'm gonna talk about, guys, is going to be a sole proprietor, okay? A sole proprietorship, it is not suggested that you do this because, again, the only reasons, okay, and I'm going to do this, to create an entity, not the only, but these are probably some of the most important reasons are, 1, liability and asset protection, and 2, for tax savings, okay? Because in businesses, we make a lot of money, right? And we want to make sure that we are protected if something goes wrong in the business, that people can't come and take our personal assets, our personal home, our personal belongings, and that they can only sue the business itself, okay? As far as tax savings go, depending on what entity you choose, some will have more tax advantages than the other. So we'll dive in and explain that. For the first one, okay, as a sole proprietor, okay, I don't suggest using this one because this one does not give you any protection, okay? Not liability protection, no asset protection, no tax breaks. So in essence, really, you have all of these things that are now working against you, right? All the liability can come and, you know, you can be sued personally. If you have a lemonade stand and someone chokes on your lemonade and they don't like you, they can sue you. And they can sue you and they can take all of your personal assets, okay? You can have a home, you can have a car, right? But all this is fair game now if you are working and operating as a sole proprietor, okay? So this does not give you any tax savings as well, right? So the full amount of tax that is assessed to businesses, if you are a sole proprietor, you will take that entire burden on because you chose to be a sole proprietor. So I am not going to spend a lot of time on this one because it is not the one that you should do, okay? So let's jump on to the next one, which is the most commonly used, okay, entity, which is the limited liability company, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and say this is you now, okay? But now you're set up as an LLC, okay? So it's the most popular, most recommended. It's what I use the most. You know, all the income is taxed to the business owner as personal income, unless you want to make the election to be taxed as an S corporation, which we will talk about here soon as well, okay? But the number one thing to understand with the with an LLC is that it's going to give you liability protection. So if there are any lawsuits that come against the business, okay, and I'm going to take that LLC and I'm going to put it right here because now it is going to be in between you, okay, and all of this liability, right? You have lawsuits, okay, people trying to take your assets, right? You got your personal assets over here, your home, you know, again, I'm just saying home and car, but you may have a lot of different assets on your side that you want protected. So if something goes wrong in this business, these lawsuits can come in, and the only thing that they can do is they can attack this LLC, and they can attack any of the assets that this LLC has, okay? But they cannot come to you, okay? So this serves as a protection, okay? And it's very similar for those of you who love sports, okay? I'll talk about it in a sports sense, right? It's just like you being here, right? You're the quarterback. You got a football in your hand right here. If you're a sole proprietor, you have no linemen, right? But if you are an LLC, right? Just like in the picture above, you're putting together all of these. This is probably better. These linemen here to protect against, okay, all of these lawsuits that may come against you, okay? Makes sense, right? I can't even spell right now. So lawsuits, I'll do this, lawsuit, 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 okay? And they cannot get into you because you have this LLC protecting you, okay? So LLC is a great entity to create for liability protection, okay? Recently, there's new tax law. I don't know how long ago it was. Again, I trust, and I want you guys to trust your CPA and your attorney to tell you these things. They allow now LLCs to be taxed as S corps because before, and you can make this decision now, any taxes would actually be able to come and make it through to you if you had an LLC. But now you can actually make an election to be taxed as an S corp, because if you own an S corp, which we're going to talk about before, it's actually going to give you some tax savings, which in turn takes away this, right? And then it makes it pass through here instead, where you get tax savings, and then, right, then your money will come out the other end, okay? But let's talk about an S corp by itself first before we go any further into that, okay? So let's say now we're talking about an S corporation, okay? A lot of times people have S corporations for tax purposes, right? So you have an X corporation, and it's going to protect you against the full tax burden, okay? So you have all these taxes that the government wants to assess, okay? But if it has to funnel through an S corporation, okay, you're going to have some huge tax savings, okay? If taxes go straight through an LLC and come straight to you, you're going to pay the full burden of tax. But if you allow it to go to an S corporation and through that, you are going to have tax savings, so you don't have to pay as much on taxes. Again, what that amount is, you'll be able to talk to your CPA so that he can explain to you what kind of savings you're looking at, guys, because this means big money savings if you take it through an S corp. So I'm going to show you guys what my entity setup is. Again, no entity is a silver bullet, or entity setup is a silver bullet. You have to make sure you set it up correctly. I personally would never trust an online service to set up all my entities. I like to have my my CPA and my attorney set these things up, just because for me, it's worth the extra money to have it done and done right, okay? So let's go, and I'm gonna show you guys my setup now. So what I normally do, guys, is when I get into different businesses, I normally always get into them as LLCs, okay? So I have multiple businesses that are set up as LLCs, and I'll tell you why, okay? And if you remember, LLCs give us liability protection, protects our assets, okay? But what happens with me is that in a lot of businesses, I may have this person and this person here as my partners here. In another entity, I may have this person and this person, okay? And this person in this entity. In this entity, I may only have one partner here. In this entity over here, I may have, right, one partner here. And in this entity, I may have, 4 partners that are all part of a group, okay? Again, we set up all these different businesses as LLCs. We all have ownership in these LLCs. And what my attorney set up for me and CPA together, they set this up. They have my S corporation down here. Okay. And we'll go back to the diagram and I'll show you why for a little bit. Let's go back to this diagram that I shared before. And if you look at it, an S corporation is going to give me some liability protection over here, right? But this is the part here, right, or that I'm looking for. I want some tax savings, okay? The LLC can now be elected, right, to be taxed as an S corp, but before, you know, this would say no, okay, to where a LLC, the money will come through that LLC and come straight to you. And I'll show you here on this drawing how this all makes sense, right? Because on the top here, you would have, again, you have your lawsuits, okay? And then you have your taxes, okay? Now, what happens with all of these is these lawsuits cannot pierce what they call the corporate veil. They can sue these entities. They can sue the entity and the assets that those entities have, but they cannot get to me personally, okay? And I didn't even draw me yet. I'm all the way down here, okay? I have all this protection up ahead of me, you know, before anybody can even touch me or any of my personal assets, okay? So I don't want anybody being able to touch any of that, okay? So lawsuits stop at the LLC level. They can't pierce that corporate veil, okay? Now taxes, on the other hand, right? Before, and the way that I have it set up, our LLCs aren't set up to be taxed as S corps. And again, talk to your attorney or CPA why, but this is how they have mine set up. So the taxes will actually go directly through these LLCs, okay? Sorry, this is gonna get a little messy. And they come straight to my S corp, okay? So go here, clean this up a little. They come directly to my S corporation, okay? So all of these taxes are coming through my S corporation, but if you remember before, in an S corporation, if I pass my income through there, I will have some tax savings, okay? So running income through my tax savings or running income through my S corp will give me tax savings that I wouldn't get otherwise, okay? So now I save money, okay, on taxes, and then finally I have that money flowing to me, okay, after taking all these tax savings, okay, and then it comes to me personally, all right? So I'm taking care of two things that are very important to me: liability protection with lawsuits and tax savings on the other side through creating different types of entities, okay? I hope we're not getting lost here, guys. And again, it's best to sit down and talk to your CPA and attorney about this, because it's important for you to understand how and why this all takes place. Because once you do, you're probably going to be like me and say, you know what? That is awesome. Now that I understand it, CPA attorney, you do all that work, okay? I'm just going to make money, funnel it through however we need to funnel it through, make sure that I won't get sued or that they can't reach my personal assets, and I'm going to be happy, right? At the end of every month, at the end of every quarter, they're going to do all my taxes for me, my payroll, literally everything for me, so that at the end of the day, when I get my money and it comes out the other side of my S corp, I've saved taxes, I've had liability protection, and now I get my money in a bigger way than I would have if I was set up as a sole proprietor. Okay. The last entity that I did not talk about yet, and I won't, is a C corp. Okay, C corporation. Now, this is when you're talking about big businesses that have shareholders, a board of directors, officers. In a C corporation, you have a higher level of protection. There are more articles of organization, incorporation, bylaws, shareholder agreements, but you are double taxed. And again, guys, I don't want to get too far in all of this, because I just want you guys to understand that you have to protect yourself, and that's why you have to get the right entity structure set up once your business is ready to start making money. Do you need to go set up an S corporation today? No. Do you need to go set up an LLC today? No. figure out what the heck you're going to do first and then go and set this up. But make sure you do it with a competent attorney and CPA that know exactly what they're doing, and preferably some attorney or accountant that is in your industry already. If you're getting into real estate, find a real estate attorney. If you're getting into manufacturing, find an attorney that's very well versed on manufacturing, okay? Don't just get any old attorney. Don't have your cousin or your brother just because they went to law school. Don't have them write everything up just because you're going to save a penny. I'm telling you guys right now that this has saved me time and time and time again. And I mean this right here, this whole setup, right? I've had times before where people have tried to sue me, right? And they can't get past my LLCs. I've had times where the IRS, they always try to tax me and overtax me. I actually had a phone call today where they claimed that I owed them $10,000, and I got my CPA on the phone, and we found out that I owe nothing, right? And that's why I pay my CPA what I do, right? The IRS is always going to try and tax you. But again, as long as you have everything set up the right way and you have the right people in place to keep that entity sound and that structure all together, you will be totally fine. Okay, guys? So again, take a look at this entity structure. Just know and understand, guys, get with the experts. Make sure that you know exactly what you are doing. Make sure that you protect your personal assets and your business assets. Make sure that you are not, taking on too much liability or burden any more than you actually need to. Okay, guys? These are all the kind of things that you need to have set up so that you can sleep well at night. And I tell you right now, I sleep very well because I know that I'm set up correctly, and we adjust every year for new laws, new things that we can take advantage of in order to be able to make more money, and more importantly, keep more of our money and protect everything that we have. And I'll tell you right now, at least in the United States of America, I know that there is a lot of tax law that is very favorable to business owners. And I believe that it should be that way because we are the ones that are creating jobs. Okay. And that's why we get tax breaks, and you might as well take advantage of every single tax break there is out there. Okay. December 31st of last year, I had a pretty big tax bill, and my CPA called me and he said, hey, can you buy something, go buy a truck, so I had to buy a truck, spend $40,000 on a truck, just because if I didn't do that, right, I would have to pay that to taxes. But I needed a truck for my business, so I went ahead and bought a truck, and that's what I mean, guys. If you have the right people in the right place for all this and the right entity structure, you can get this all set up, have it all very sound. Again, for those who have a simple mind like mine, it's just like a football team. You either go onto the field, you're the quarterback, and you have no linemen, right? You set yourself up as a sole proprietor, or you come out ready. You have LLCs, you have an S corporation, you have everything protecting you so that you can stand there and be safe. Okay. Well, that's all we got with the entities, guys. Let's get on to the next section. Hope you like this one. Let's keep moving.